Black family. This is part 1 of why the president of Haiti was truly assassinated. No cap, no conspiracy theories. Listen.
In our one and only interview, Haiti's president talks about why his government hasn't administered a single vaccine and doesn't plan to. But Louise says there is a relationship Haitians have with nature that protects them from coronavirus and a plant that produces certain tea called asosimo that's made with ginger root. I'm telling you what I've witnessed, he says.
And finally, Haiti is one of the countries that will be receiving vaccines from the United States. We will be prepared to deliver those hopefully as early as next week.
All right, peace, Black family. So I'm not going to make a statement anymore. I'm just going to simply ask a question for all my Haitians, right? You're telling me the people who enslaved us, took us from Africa and brought us to Haiti, the people who raped our grandmas, who separated us, who whipped our grandfathers and did all those type of things during slavery, the people who reinforced France's reparation claim against us, the people who occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934, the people who shot down boats loads of Haitians trying to escape Haiti to come to the United States in the Atlantic Ocean, the people who blocked us from international trade for almost 100 years, the people who took our pigs out of Haiti and then dropped their pigs in Haiti, the people who sold us plastic rice is now going to Haiti to give us a free vaccine after the president was assassinated, who actually didn't want the vaccine there in the first place. Yeah, y'all gotta be out y'all mind.
What's your reaction, Mr. President, to the Haitian president being assassinated?
We need a lot more information, but it's very worrisome about the state of Haiti.
Does the U.S. have a role in seeking justice? Mr. President,
he just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet. It wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest. It wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest. It wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest. The world editor of a paper in the Delaware Valley asked their reporters to come down and talk to me and said, why is Biden so concerned about Bosnia and not about Haiti? Is it because blacks are involved in Haiti? Blacks are what at stake in Haiti, and in Bosnia they are European whites. If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our
Well, I think I was the first person to talk about white genetic annihilation in those terms, and that racism is ultimately a total system for white genetic survival and to prevent white genetic annihilation on a planet that has the genetics and the demographics that exist on third planet from the sun, which is planet Earth. So I was the first to put it in those terms, and my thesis has not been refuted. I would say that if my definition is understood, that racism, white supremacy is the fear on the part of people who classify themselves as white about white genetic annihilation and the concern for white genetic survival. This would therefore mean logically and specifically that the focus has to be on black males, because black people have the greatest genetic potential to produce the black pigment melanin, which gives off skin color. And since we have the highest level of genetically determined ability to produce this pigment that can cause white genetic annihilation, and it's only males who can impose sexual intercourse. And so the focus consciously, subconsciously has to zero in on the males. This is why I say that understanding, I'm not talking about institutional racism, I'm talking about a total system construct that develops out of certain patterns of thinking on the part of people who classify themselves as white relative to specific realities that exist on this planet. And so then once that is understood, that the fear of genetic annihilation that takes to the focus on the male, the black male person, as being the number one perceived threat, the number one enemy, and everything flows from that.
Every single thing, I'm sorry to say, that I predicted in March of last year has come to fruition. Every motherfucking thing I said has come to fucking fruition!
I want to go to President Biden. President Biden, your first day of office, you signed an executive order to protect the life and safety of transgenders. I have no problem with that. But you did it on your first day. But he sat up here with you, Charlemagne, and told black people that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So if you went out of your way begging black people to vote for you, why haven't we got an executive order or any other activity coming out of the Oval Office from President Biden to protect black people from police?
I agree.
Look what he's doing with the anti-Asian hate. President Joe Biden signed an executive order that is exclusive to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I don't have a problem with that. But if you can protect the Asian American and Pacific Islander from violence, why can't you do the same thing for black people? They've been dealing with violence for 1 year as a result of COVID. That's what it's called, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Bill, to protect Asians as a result of discriminatory treatment that they've been dealing with for how long? 1 year. Black people have been catching hell for 400 years, and we have yet to get an executive order from Joe Biden to protect us from the police. And also, Charlemagne and Envy, to further highlight the racism of American government, the transgender executive order is not for people of color. It is not for minorities. It is not for disadvantaged communities. Guess who it's for? Transgender, the anti-Asian Pacific Islander hate executive order against hate is not for people of color. It's not for minorities. It's not for disadvantaged Americans. It is exclusively and only for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Why am I bringing that up? Because when Barack Obama was in office, all these Negroes running around screaming for Obama, I still don't know why, was said that Barack Obama can't do nothing specifically for black people because this is America. And when we got the Civil Rights Bill in 64 and the Voting Rights Act in 65, they included 2 words at the end of that. One was gender and the other was sexual orientation. So the Civil Rights Bill did not only apply to blacks, it applied to everybody. So if you have to make laws for all Americans, Charlemagne and Envy, how do you explain the fact that the Asian Americans got a law just for them? Yesterday, the United States Senate, in historic precedence, passed the anti-Asian hate crimes bill at a vote of 96-1. Now, to give you an idea of what that means, the Senate, they don't agree on nothing. The Democrats and Republicans, they filibuster each other to death. But yesterday they didn't. 96, only one person voted against the anti-Asian hate crimes bill. So can I ask you a question? If the Senate was able to pass the anti-Asian hate crimes bill, Charlemagne and Envy, 96-1 with almost no opposition, why is it that the Emmett Till lynching bill still has not been approved? Why is it that there have been over 200 different anti-lynching bills introduced in the U.S. Congress? 200! And not one of them has been approved by the U.S. Congress yet. But the first ever Asian bill goes through on the first try. Look at the racism. Look at the discrimination. Look at the bias. Look at the inequity there.